Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So if I can just go through the usual rules of procedure with you. As you know, you all need to be muted, and that's going to include Councillor Colburn's cat, who has joined the meeting. Can everybody please be muted, and if you are invited to speak, at that point you can take yourself off mute and then put yourself back onto mute as soon as you have finished. Please don't unmute yourself until you are invited to speak, because otherwise it becomes very difficult to keep track of the debate. If you have a question or a comment to make at the relevant time, can you please press the symbol for the hand so that your hand is shown on screen, and then we will try and make sure we come to you in the order that we see your hand raised. And again, once you have made your comment or been invited to speak, can you then please put your hand down as soon as possible after that. If for any reason you have to leave the meeting, can you please indicate that you're going to do that, either by putting a message in the chat or by raising your hand so that we can speak to you. If you lose connection, then try and get hold of somebody in Democratic Services, because they are trying to assist anybody who has problems with connection, and then try and rejoin as soon as you can. If you do lose connection, there is clear case law to say that if you have not heard the whole of a debate, then you may not vote on that matter. So we have to deal with that on trust, on the basis that if you've missed something but it wasn't the actual debate, so if you've missed somebody just reading some part of the report, then you could rejoin and you could still vote. But if you've missed the debate, then you will have to rule yourself out and not vote. If you have to declare an interest, can you please put your camera off and put yourself on mute so that you're not able to be seen or heard in the chamber and can't be said to be influencing the decision. And then finally, we will use the pattern which we've now established of voting, whereby when it becomes time that you can vote, I will go through it in effectively reverse order. So I'll ask if anybody wants to abstain, and then if anybody wants to vote against, and then those in favour. And you vote by showing your remote hand on the screen, just pressing your hand symbol. Once it's clear that we've counted the votes and we've said that they are closed, then can you please make sure that you take your virtual hand down. So I'm now going to hand back to the Mayor so that he can start the meeting. I'll just ask if Democratic Services have any information about Councillor Amos or Councillor Skinner at this point.
No, nothing further, Cardiff.
Well, Mr. Mayor, it's a couple of minutes after 5, so I would invite you perhaps to start the meeting now, and we'll see if they join us as we go along.
Okay, thank you. Prynawn da, croeso. Croeso I cyfarfod y llawn y cwniau. Good afternoon, welcome to Untitled Chapter Full Council meeting on Wednesday the 3rd of March. Please note that this meeting has been recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. We'll go on to item 1. Apologies for absence.
Yes, you've heard that Councillor Chris Barry has offered his apologies for this evening, Mr. Mayor. I can just see in the chat that there is some problem for Councillor Amos, but he is going to try and join us, so hopefully by the time you get through some of these early agenda items, he will be able to join us. Okay,
thank you very much, Mother. We'll go on to item 2, declaration of interest. Members, a reminder of the person responsible to declare any personal and prejudicial interest in respect of matters contained in the agenda. Please note A and B when declaring your interest, please, members.
Councillor Ian Thomas, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Agenda item 3 and agenda item 4, council tax matters. I'm a member of Bedinoe Community Council, but I have dispensation to speak and to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thomas. Anybody else? Councillor Diego.
Thank you. Exactly the same as Councillor Ian Thomas.
Thank you, Councillor Jacob. Thank you. Are there any other declarations of interest?
No, Mr Mayor, not that I can see.
Right, we'll go on to item number 3, budget requirement on the council tax 2021 to 2022, state of the council debate. I will now hand over to the leader to deliver the state of the council debate.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, the Local Government Finance Act 1992 determines that the authority delivers its budget requirements and council tax setting to Welsh Government by the 11th of March 2021. The Provisional Local Government Settlement for 21-22 received on the 22nd of December indicated a provisional settlement of plus 4.64% for Merthyr Tydfil. Yesterday's announcement of the final local government settlement confirmed this increase, and the settlement has enabled the council to accommodate unavoidable additional demands of 3.6 million, as well as the further 1.3 million demands related to COVID-19 to be financed through Welsh Government's hardship fund. Furthermore, the identification of nearly 1 million service efficiencies enabled the proposal to this council for the budgeted council tax increase to be reduced from 4.99% to 3.55%. From an overall financial perspective, as we previously faced a deficit in excess of nearly 20 million, and close financial management has brought in nearly 3 million surplus in 1920. We also have a costed recovery and transformation plan to factor in. We are, however, still developing our financial and strategic direction of fleet review, asset management and decarbonisation agendas. All of this while we embed focus on my performance at the core of the authority, all contributing to the sustainability of this council. From a regional perspective, we will continue to work with Welsh Government through the WLGA and my meetings with ministers, and nationally we'll be watching very closely the developments of both the Levelling Up Fund and the Shared Prosperity Fund. Looking ahead, of course, addressing any projected budget deficits over the medium term is a significant challenge for the council, particularly with the uncertainty surrounding future revenue settlements owing to the potential impact caused not only by COVID, but of course Brexit as well. Ensuring the council's financial sustainability is responsibility for all elected members, working closely with senior officers. And at that point, I would like to thank Councillor Darren Roberts, Councillor Clive Jones, for their work with me and Councillor Chris Davis over the last couple of months as well in talking about budget management, of course, and council tax. And I'll allude to that a little bit later as well. And not forgetting, of course, my cabinet member, Councillor Andrew Barry, who is working with our Chief Finance Officer at our financial medium, but also the longer term as well. I will now review and summarise some of the key achievements from this local authority and our officers. Monitoring officer has just said there is a bad quality. Can I just check you can still hear me?
We did have a little bit of a difficulty there. There was some break, but you seem to be okay again now. Okay. I'll let you know if it looks as though we're having a problem.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, despite the financial constraints and continued demands made by the authority, we continue to provide vital services and have protected those greatest in need. All our departments do their very best they can under very difficult circumstances, and in many cases, our officers have been the envy of other colleagues across Wales. Some examples of the work: under Finance and IT, Revenue and Benefits have worked tirelessly over the last 12 months, ensuring the timely payment of business grants to grateful local businesses unable to trade during the pandemic. The IT section has been instrumental in during the pandemic in successfully enabling the government's home working objective, significantly contributing to the council's agile working agenda. Under education, the last 11 months, as you can imagine, has been particularly challenging for our schools and our children, our young people and teachers alike and support staff. Once schools closed, the learning department, together with other service areas and volunteers, came together to deliver meals to over 2,000 children eligible for free school meals, a fantastic community effort. The department also ensured the schools and officers remained in contact with our vulnerable learners, supported by a multi-agency panel to consider how services could meet the needs of these children and their families. Despite the challenges faced by the pandemic, we have continued to move forward with our 21st Century Schools plans, and work is in hand for a new seedling Welsh medium school to open in September, and a site has been agreed for the new 3 to 16 faith school, and of course other capital bills. Education remains a key priority for the Council, and it was particularly pleasing to see the Raising Aspirations, Raising Standards strategy being passed by this Council last November. This 5-year strategy does challenge everybody to play their part in education and support us to enable the children and young people of the County Borough to do the very best they can and be the very best they can. Under engineering, of course, last year in February 2020, Storm Dennis hit Merthyr Tydfil with devastating effects. Over 200 properties were flooded, and in the early hours of the 16th of February, an emergency situation was declared. Our engineering department have been working on a number of projects totaling approximately £8.6 million to reduce the risk of future flooding and to protect properties within the flood affected areas of Merthyr Tydfil. This work obviously is going to continue. Under planning, Merthyr Tydfil continues to be the best performing local planning authority in Wales, as demonstrated by Welsh Government performance data. Examples of some recent planning applications over the last year include a residential development of 70 dwellings, conversion of a listed building in the former St Tydfil's Hospital site, some drainage engineering works at Dragon Park, essential to the future residential development of that site, and of course supported Prince Charles Hospital, erection of a 2-storey building there, and continued alterations and conversions. Under waste management, significant improvements have been made in waste management in relation to achieving the Welsh Government recovery and landfill diversion targets. Progress has continued into 2020-2021 with a provisional recovery rate of 66.74% achieved in the first 3 quarters. There are new continuations of new initiatives such as Keeping Up with the Joneses and the opening of a reuse shop. Waste management to continue to explore every opportunity to achieve the Welsh Government targets. Under highways, during 2020-21, highways had completed £1 million worth of resurfacing works, 350k on upgrading traffic lights, safety fences, disabled access, cattle grids, highway signs and road lining, and 900k worth of routine maintenance works throughout the county borough. Our parks and cemeteries, the ability, of course, to go outside and enjoy fresh air has never been so important. We kept our parks and play areas open during the pandemic lockdown, providing essential exercise for our residents. We have retained our green flag status for both Cyfarthfa Park, Taff Bargoed Park, Aberfan Cemetery, and last year we added Thomastown Park to the list. Under environmental health, well, our officers there have found themselves at the forefront of the fight against COVID-19 and spreading of the virus. They've worked tirelessly with our communities to keep them safe and have performed a vital role in the test, trace and protect service. They provided crucial support to colleagues across the local authority, and never has the positive interaction between departments and the commitment to support one another to achieve a common goal been so great. Protection and safety services, the work of these services of course have been diverted to enforcing laws relating to COVID-19, and our approach has been to support businesses and to ensure that they comply with the law, but taking a firm hand to those who fail with any compliance. The community safety team was successful in obtaining a £500,000 grant to update crime prevention measures in the town ward. This will include improved CCTV, better street lighting and targeting specific areas such as alley gating. Our emergency planning team have been instrumental in the authorities' response not only to the pandemic but also to Storm Dennis as well, and have been key partners in the planning for testing and vaccination centres. Social services. Well, this year, of course, has seen more significant pressures within the service due to the global pandemic. We have needed to work and respond in different ways as a result, ensuring the most vulnerable in our communities continue to receive support. This has led to multi-agency work and third sector support coming together to offer practical and financial resources where required. Care homes were hugely impacted by the pandemic and continue to be so. Families have been unable to see loved ones, although we have encouraged the use of using technology by buying iPads and screens for care homes to facilitate this. And within children's services, the demand has remained high. And of course, referrals very complex. Although our children looked after figures have reduced in recent months through hard work, there is caution that once schools return and children return to some normal activities, that we will see a major increase in referrals, which will impact greatly on our children's services, both resources and financially. Improving prevention work still remains a priority for this area, with the help of the Early Help Hub being launched last year, and of course Family First being transferred across to children's services. This will assist with looking at the vulnerable children profile and working with education colleagues to address any concerns or issues. There is, of course, much positive work to be recognised. This is being carried out with the development of a scoping paper to consider a regional residential therapeutic placement for young people. And our social care staff have been both resilient and dynamic in their approach to meeting the needs of our community. However, the impact of COVID restrictions on our community's physical and emotional well-being will bring new resource and financial challenges to us in the coming months. Corporate services, we continue to implement our Shemairament principle in promoting the Welsh language and encouraging online learning to support this during the pandemic. Our strategic equalities plan is being implemented and built into our working practices. All our support services, again, have worked tirelessly with members of staff from across the council to develop innovative ways to change the organisation in line with our goals. Under HR, the council has continued to encourage staff to take up work-based apprenticeships, and we have had great success over the last few years with recruiting apprentices in-house. We continue to be able to offer more apprenticeship opportunities for 2021. Under housing and regeneration, COVID-19 business support has been phenomenal. Welsh Government have rolled out a variety of grant programmes and Merthyr Council has delivered nearly £29 million to businesses within the local authority area. A multitude of grants from NDR support, discretionary business grants, freelancer, arts and culture, COVID recovery, etc. have all been part of that. To deliver this volume of financial support, the LA adopted a different approach to many other authorities throughout Wales, working on an interdepartmental basis to deliver much needed financial aid packages to the business community. And of course, we have successfully delivered the following grant schemes: the COVID-19 Startup Grant, the Freelancer Support, as I just mentioned, the Firebreak Discretionary Grant, and Restrictions Business Fund Discretionary Grant, to name just a few. The Valleys Task Force Welsh Government grant as well has committed finances to support the Transforming Towns agenda and specifically to support your smaller town centres within the task force boundary. What has been achieved over this period is that Merthyr Tydfil has constantly punched above its weight, excuse the pen being a boxing town, in the delivery of grant support to the business community of Merthyr Tydfil. External funding and sports development, assessment of Merthyr Tydfil's social economy and sports clubs. Well, over 50 social businesses and sports clubs took part in a pilot health check assessment early in the COVID-19 pandemic, so the Community Regeneration Department could better understand the impact of the virus. The department will rerun this exercise again in March to ascertain the realistic impact and to better understand the needs across those sectors. Financial support, sport and leisure activities. At the start of lockdown, the active Merthyr team developed and administered a bespoke online engagement fund to support sports clubs, social enterprises and associated private businesses to move their provision to an online platform. The department has supported both physical activity providers, including all of those clubs, to apply for over £120,000 worth of external investment since the beginning of the pandemic. Strategic transport. Well, of course, we have the new Merthyr Tydfil bus interchange. Construction on the interchange has continued throughout the pandemic and a planned opening in May 2021. The scheme has been fully funded by Welsh Government and delivered to a very high standard and specification by the contractor Morgan Sindel, with the able professional support from Capita Red Start. The facility will house Stagecoach, they're moving in April, and the main bus network operator for the borough will start moving buses out of there from that time onwards, as well as providing accommodation for South Wales Police, a cafe and a coffee shop outlet. Cardiff Capital Region Transport Authority, the council continues to manage and facilitate £2 million worth of programmes on behalf of the region. The Metro Plus is, of course, a programme of major capital transportation schemes within the local development, focused on both Merthyr Tydfil and Pentre rail stations. Also, of course, the Welsh Government's Ultra Low Emission Vehicle Transmission Fund is supporting the regional programme on the introduction of electric charging points for taxis, buses and public use. Under employability, well, there have been challenging times, but the employability team have secured over 200 jobs for people during the pandemic to date this financial year. The team are working closely to understand how the pandemic is affecting businesses and how it is affecting the unemployment claimant count. And of course, with that in mind, they have been successful in becoming a Kickstart Gateway representative, securing funding to create 95 jobs internally and with external businesses. And that, of course, links into the Aspire Shared Apprenticeship Programme, which is now in its 4th year of delivery. And I'm pleased to report that 38 local people have secured partnership opportunities in advanced manufacturing and engineering. Strategic regeneration. Well, of course, we have the Merthyr Tydfil Town Centre Master Plan development, and the authority has worked with Welsh Government, Transport for Wales and the Valley's Task Force to create an integrated master plan, ensuring the new bus and rail investments create an integrated transport solution that will facilitate an excellent phase of regeneration for Merthyr Tydfil. Cyfarthfa Heritage Area and the Valley's Regional Park. This is linked to the Valley's Task Force. Welsh Government announced in 2018 that £7 million is available for the development of 9 Discovery Gateway sites across South East Wales. And of course, Cyfarthfa Park was identified as one of those key Discovery Gateway sites. Nearly £1 million has been secured in 2021 to redevelop the Canolfan. The Cyfarthfa Plan, well, the world-renowned architects Ian Ritchie led an international award-winning team of consultants to develop a master plan to turn Merthyr Tydfil's Cyfarthfa Heritage Area into an industrial heritage centre of international significance. A special purpose vehicle has been created called the Cyfarthfa Foundation to deliver the projects, and the foundation is working closely with the council and with Merthyr Tydfil Leisure Trust in relation to the key developments. Housing. Well, since the COVID-19 pandemic outbreak, housing and homelessness services have seen unprecedented increase in demand for services. Changes made to the Housing Wales Act resulted in all persons presenting as homeless being offered temporary accommodation, with a further duty to secure permanent accommodation thereafter. Just under £1 million of Welsh Government COVID Phase 2 funding was awarded to the local authority to assist in this and our exit strategy. And this will be provided to support 7 modular homes managed by Merthyr Valley Homes, and to set up a regional mental health and substance misuse multidisciplinary team and increase the Housing First project as well. New housing developments include the old Woolworth site, the old Colliery site, East Street Dowlais and Hilo Brunei. Under legal and democratic, well, since March of last year, when the country first went into lockdown, the legal team has operated almost entirely remotely, with only 1 lawyer in the Civic Centre full-time and 1 member of the support team. We have, however, continued to provide advice and representation to all departments, dealing with the business as usual, and as well as new and specific demands related to legislation that has been born out of this pandemic. When lockdown first began, our Democratic Services team's members were largely redeployed in supporting and safeguarding vulnerable people and services. Council and committee meetings were suspended temporarily. However, as we can see tonight, now all councillors regularly attend meetings remotely using Teams. Communications and engagement. Well, of course, last February we had Storm Dennis. The team played a vital role here, providing up-to-date information via our comms channels to assist those residents that have been impacted by the storm. In conjunction with the engineering department, the team developed an information pack which was circulated to households affected by Storm Dennis, highlighting key information on 49 repair schemes being worked on to reduce the risk of future flooding. With COVID-19, they have kept the public informed in an ever-changing environment, and that has been extremely challenging for corporate communications. In the past 12 months, the team has played a key role again in amplifying both local and national public health messages, working with our Chief Executive, myself, and of course the Cabinet, the communications team has also coordinated various television and radio interviews during the pandemic, and they've been broadcasted both locally and nationally. During the pandemic, the team have also worked on a campaign called Merthyr Frontline Heroes, where we celebrated and thanked people who were going above and beyond in the fight against coronavirus. And furthermore, of course, in November 2020, Merthyr Tydfil was the first local authority in Wales to pilot a mass testing programme delivered in conjunction with other partners from Health, Welsh Government, Central Government and the military. Last but not least, under regeneration, although the pandemic limited the regenerations team's opportunities for promoting its usual extensive range of work, there were a number of media successes. These included the head of regeneration being interviewed by the Business Insider Wales, focusing on Rock UK and Bike Park Wales. The ITV Wales' 6 programme focusing on Trevethick Day and doing a special on that with Troedyrw Primary School. The virtual launch of the Cyfarthfa plan resulted in an article in The Guardian and a range of TV and radio interviews. And of course, the virtual Christmas light switch on, which took place with Capital FM radio, was a huge success with thousands of people watching the event on Facebook. Due to the pandemic, though, no traditional events have taken place for the Mayor's office during 2020. However, the Mayor, Councillor Howard Barrett, and Deputy Mayor, Councillor Malcolm Colbran, have both run another year in office, and this is historic. It's never happened before. And on that note, Mr Mayor, I would like to thank all members, officers and staff of the authority for their continued support in such difficult times and for delivering high-performing services for the citizens of Merthyr Tydfil, County Borough. I now have the pleasure in moving the recommendations you'll find on page 4 of the report this evening. Those recommendations I move are 2.1 to 2.7. Monitoring Officer, can I just check if you'd like me to read out the recommendations, or does that suffice?
That's fine. All members have got that available to them, so they should be clear about what those recommendations are, and then you just may need a seconding.
Thank you.
I'll second that, Monitoring Officer, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Mr Mayor, do you want to respond to questions?
Any members got any questions?
No, Mr Mayor, there's no indication of questions.
Any members got comments?
Councillor Clive Jones, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just feel that there's a need to state the situation we're in, frankly, on a national basis. Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council was fortunate to have a higher than expected local government settlement of 4.64 for the next financial year, 21 to 22. And together with the fact that because of COVID, Mr Mayor, we've got no indicative figures for what the settlements will be for the next few years. I believe that the situation, the financial situation, Mr Mayor, will be very different next year. The Chancellor of the Exchequer has today tried to paper over the cracks of a very large and deep black financial hole, the worst there has been for over 300 years. There was nothing, in my opinion, to jump up about and clap in today's budget, particularly for the public sector and local government in particular. The next 12 months will prove to be a very difficult financial climate. And to close, I would like to thank all the staff of the local authority, particularly in our neck of the woods in Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council, as the leader has outlined what's been achieved in the last 12 months. All our staff, I believe, have stepped up to the mark and done over and above what they would normally do in a non-COVID year. And I would like to thank them for the work that they've done since the lockdown, the first lockdown started, and what they are still doing. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Mr Mayor, Councillor Geraint Thomas.
Councillor Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just like to endorse the words and the speech that Councillor Mitten, the leader, just gave us. Although Storm Dennis and the start of the COVID pandemic was in the last financial year, we've had to suffer the consequences through this year with all the money we've had to spend to remedy a lot of the problems, the vaccinations, the mass testing. And I think we've got to thank our staff, like Councillor Jones just said, for the amount of work they've had to carry out over the last 12 months has absolutely been fantastic. And they've all should be they're a credit to the council. We know that. And guys, I think we really need to give a big round of applause when the time is right to be back in the chamber.
Councillor Chris Davis, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just obviously wanted to commend the leader's State of the Nation speech to members tonight. Absolutely, when you just pause and you just reflect and just take a step back on what we've achieved during what's been, a year like we've never known in our lifetimes. I think we've achieved a huge amount, as a council, working together with our partners, particularly our other public sector partners, namely the local health board around max vaccinations, obviously mass testing, and just delivering services and support to our most vulnerable residents in the county borough. In addition to the amazing work that's been done by our communities, by third and community sector organisations who just rallied together and have just supported the communities of Merthyr Tydfil. It's been amazing. Councillor Jones is right, we've got difficult times ahead, but we've all got to pull together, all 32 of us to support the officers who've done an amazing job in this council, from Ellis, Allen to all the directors, chief officers and all of our staff. You've been amazing. Da iawn, diolch yn fawr, and thank you for everything.
Councillor Andrew Barry, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Modern Officer. Couldn't agree more with everything's been said. The staff have been absolutely amazing. They've gone over and above time and time again over the last 12 months, because of course we never knew when this was going to come to an end, and their continued support has just been unbelievable. I'd like to pay special tribute to the guys who got those grants out the doors. The figures that we're talking about for this county borough over the last 12-month period, we're nearing nearly £29 million we've paid out to businesses, to the business community, to safeguard people's jobs over the last 12 months. That I don't think anybody could have foreseen what we were going to be able to achieve through this dire period. But we've done it, and through knocking down the wall of communication and the staff communicating with licensing, with environmental health with revenues, benefits planning. It's been seamless. And I know we've had many queries from other county boroughs just asking how we've done it. And it's the dedication and the inspirational work that these guys have put in. Not only is that superb work on behalf of the council, but what they're doing is they're ensuring or ensuring to the best of our ability the survival of those businesses in our local economy, the lifeblood that we're out there to support. So I want to pay tribute particularly to those, and that's not decrying everybody in the council and the job they've done. Fantastic work by everybody. I'd like to commend the leader's speech to the council, and well done, council, well done, leader.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. We move on now. Is there no any more comments?
No, there are none, Mr Mayor.
Can I hand to Modern Officer for the vote, please?
Yes, so can we take this in the usual sequence then, please? Could all members who wish to abstain please show now? Thank you. All members wishing to vote against, please show now. Thank you. And all members wishing to vote for the recommendations, please show now. Can Democratic Services just confirm to me? I think we may have 1 or 2 people who haven't voted. Nearly there now.
Clive Tavia.
No, Clive Tubby has just voted.
Just voted.
And I think that's it then.
Yes, it is.
There we are. Thank you. That's carried unanimously, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Modern Officer. Thank you all for that vote. We'll go on to item number 4, which is a council tax resolution to consider report from interim chief executive. I'll hand over to Councillor Barry, Andrew Barry, and I'll invite him to address the council, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council tax resolution 2122. The council is required by legislation to disclose its calculations of its budget requirement and council tax for financial year 2021-22 under statutory resolutions, and to approve the council tax resolution for 21-22. The budget requirement for 21-22 is 133.271 with council tax D, council tax for 2021 as follows. Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council of £1,728.98. B, Police and Crime Commissioner for South Wales, £287.72. And C, Bedlinog and Lewis Community Council at £19.91. The formal statutory council resolution for 2021-22 is included in Appendix 1, and the recommendations are between 2.1 and 2.4. 2.1, the formal statutory council tax resolution 2021-22, as outlined in Appendix 1 and summarised in paragraph 5.1, will be noted. 2.2, the Police and Crime Commissioner for South Wales approved precept for 2021-22 of £5,302,893 for Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council be noted. 2.3, the Bedlinog and Lewis Community Council approved precept for 2021-22 of £23,250 for the Community Council area be noted. And 2.4, the Welsh Government 2021-22 non-domestic rate for Wales of 53.5 pence in the pound be noted. I move the recommendation, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Barry. Could I say?
Yeah, I'd like
second.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to second that, but in doing so, again, really important to me as leader tonight, and I know to my deputy, my cabinet, and everybody really sat in this council this evening. I really must give thanks to my cabinet for the work that they've done, and of course the officers, especially Steve Jones and all the work that he's done in providing us with financial figures over the last couple of weeks. Because that brings me to my point in seconding, I really do want to recognise the work that Councillor Darren Roberts, Councillor Clive Jones have done with me and Councillor Chris Davis over the last 2 months. We really have thrashed this out, if that's the right word to use. You know, we've had some difficult debates around it, but I really want to welcome their support. And of course, not forgetting in more recent times, Councillor Julian Amos as well, and Councillor Tanya Skinner. I just felt it really important, and so therefore I do move those second those recommendations, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Leader. Can we go on to any questions, please?
There are no questions. Oh, I'm sorry, Councillor Julian Amos has a question.
Councillor Amos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can I just ask Councillor Barry, in terms, we've got a 3.55 rise, but allowing for the police increase, what will the total rise that our residents face, do you know?
In terms of what? The band, Councillor Amos, or are you talking about the percentage? Because the percentage doesn't change.
Well, But the 3.55, I see what you mean. So that precept is included in the 3.55, is it?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Andrew.
Members, any more questions?
Councillor Amos, can you put your hand down unless you've got another question?
Thank you.
So, no other questions, Mr. Mayor.
Members, any comments, please?
That was a tie. I think it was probably Councillor Roberts first.
Yeah. Councillor Roberts, please.
Fastest finger first, Mandarin Officer. I'd like to thank the leader for her kind comments, really, and obviously thank her and the Deputy Leader, Chris Davis, for the engagement over the past 2 months. The improved communications and correspondence has been meaningful and open, and the discussions have led to far more meaningful, like I said, discussions between the groups. We look forward to working closely with the leader and deputy leader moving forward to make sure that we deliver the best possible services that we can for the residents of Merthyr Tydfil. So once again, thank you to the leader for her kind comments.
Okay.
Next was Councillor Chris Davis.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to echo what the leader and the opposition leader have said, really. You know, it's been an absolute pleasure over the last couple of months for us all to have worked together, 32 councillors all securing the best outcomes for the people of Merthyr Tydfil, and I hope this can continue as we move forward into the next year, because as Councillor Jones has said, it's going to be difficult times. We'll have to be making difficult decisions, but you know, we're all committed, hopefully, for securing the best outcomes for the communities of Merthyr Tydfil that we're all elected to represent. And I just wanted to put my thanks and the councillors' thanks really to the officers, to Steve Jones, the Chief Finance Officer, and his team, but also to Councillor Barry, who's done a tremendous amount of work, steadying the ship and just making sure we're on track with regards to finances and making us a fit-for-purpose, sustainable council moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Davis.
Mayor.
Councillor Julian Amos. Councillor Amos, you're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, I've just got to find different words, really, because I'm mainly saying the same things as everybody else has said. I'd like to thank, first of all, the leader, because the improved dialogue between the group leaders has been excellent. I came to things a bit late in the day, but still, it was wonderful to have discourse with her and with Councillor Roberts. I'd like to congratulate them, and long may it continue. And I think really it shows how we can all put aside our differences of opinion, although we've all got differences. And we're a good example of showing that we care about the county borough and can set those differences aside. And I'd also like to congratulate Steve and his team for what the wonderful job that they have done. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any more comments, please? The leader.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Colleagues, look, thank you ever so much for that. I think what's important here is that this is about the people of Merthyr Tydfil, isn't it, Julian? As you just said, it's about putting any differences aside and really focusing on what is right for the people of Merthyr Tydfil. I think just in sort of perhaps closing this particular debate now, what I would want to reiterate is for the residents of Merthyr Tydfil that, often there are some negative comments made about councillors wishing to line their own pockets, and this is why we put up council tax or give bonuses left, right and centre, and that certainly isn't the case. This is about ensuring the services that we provide continue to be provided. As I said, it's never an easy decision to make to increase anything, certainly not council tax, but just quickly, these services include education, social services, community centres, street lighting, refuse collection, youth and sports centres, libraries, the list goes on. This is what council tax actually supports. Not forgetting, of course, police and the fire and civil defence, public transport and rubbish and waste disposal as well. You know, so there's a myriad of things the council tax covers. I would just like to again thank you all for those comments. It is really important that we work together for the people in Merthyr Tydfil, and that is what we've done in the last 2 months, and that is what we've done tonight. So thank you for that, guys.
Thank you, Leader. Can I hand over to the Monitoring Officer? If there are no more comments, to the vote, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So can I ask, please, all those members who would wish to abstain, can you please show now? Thank you. All those members who would wish to vote against the recommendations, please vote now. Thank you. And then all those members wishing to vote in favour of the recommendations, please vote now. Councillor Tubby and Councillor Amos, there you go. Yes, that's complete and that's carried unanimously.
Thank you, Monitoring Officer. We'll go on to item number 5. Can we please put our hands down, please? There's quite a few. Got them up. Item 5 is the proposal to prohibit vehicle access to Kevin Coyne and Pan cemeteries at night. I think we will ask Councillor Andrew Barry to address the council, please.
I think it's me, Councillor Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Councillor David Hughes.
Yes, the summary of the report is found in 1.1 to update the members of the current position regarding access to Kevin and Pan cemeteries and the problem being encountered due to the gates being left open. Before I come to recommendations, I'd just like to point out that we've spoken to the ward councillors at Bendinog for the Graig Fargoed Cemetery down there, and the Merthyr Vale board members of the Aberfan Cemetery, and they have both indicated that they wanted the cemetery to remain open. The TRS ward members of the Beech Grove Cemetery would like more time to consult the public before deciding. And if they decide that they want to close the gates, I will bring another paper to the council. The recommendations, the proposal to prohibit vehicle access to Kevin Coyne and Pan Cemetery at night be approved. I therefore move.
Thank you, Councillor Hughes. Have we got a seconder for that, please?
I second that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councillor Clive Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not against the recommendation that's contained in the report, but I have a query. It says in the report, under the heading Financial Implications, under paragraph 5.1 on page 124, and I quote what it says: the security firm currently contracted by Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council has been approached to provide a cost for opening / closing Kevin Coyne and Pan cemeteries. And the cost is in paragraph below there, the last very bottom of the page, of 22,380 plus VAT per year. Can I ask, Mr. Mayor, how many years are left on the current security contract with the council? And is the extra cost of opening and locking the gates in Kevin and Pant to be negotiated every year? And because it's not part of the accepted, tendered contract with the security firm.
Thanks, Councillor Jones. The security tender the council currently has for Unit 5, the Civic, and Cardiff Park, which I think you're alluding to, that was tendered at the end of last year. So it's not something that's tendered annually. This has obviously been tendered separately, been acquired separately to that for this specific purpose.
So, through you, Mr. Mayor, how many years is left? What was that contract for? Is it for 3-4 years or longer?
I don't have that information in front of me now. Sorry, I believe it was 5 years, but I'd have to double check and come back to you.
Yes, that was at the back of my mind. I wasn't sure. So for this amount, because it's not part of a tendered contract, so it's outside the contract, will this figure be negotiated with this particular security firm, or is it the likelihood that next year or the year after that you'll put this out as a separate contract?
We'll take advice from procurement on that. The reason we got this company to quote for it was on the advice of procurement at the moment, on the basis that the current contract for security in other buildings was with them. So they suggested that we went to them for this addition.
Right. Okay. So we'll take an advice from our procurement staff as to what we do in future years.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I see Councillor Amos.
Sorry, Amos, yes.
Sorry, Modron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, could I just ask the question again under financial implications? We have staff who work in the cemeteries, obviously on the estate's complement. Has any thought been given to employing our own staff rather than putting it out to a contract to a security firm? And if so, what was the response?
Yeah, we did give consideration to that. I know Paul Jones, who's the service manager, is on the call. Perhaps he can add some more. But due to difficulties in covering things like sickness, bank holidays, etc., where we would have had to have brought cover in, it wasn't deemed feasible to do that. Paul, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, there's not a great deal to add, to be honest, but the staff were spoken to and they were quite keen at first. But when we go down to the nitty-gritty of it all, they would have had to give up their weekends for an hour's work and it wasn't really feasible with covering staff for holidays and sickness.
Thanks for that.
Thank you. Members, any more questions?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Members, any comments? Councillor Darren Roberts.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As Councillor Hughes mentioned earlier, it's the wishes of myself, my ward colleague, Councillor Scott Thomas, and myself to keep the gates open in Aberfan. I understand that there has been incidents of fly tipping and vandalism at Cavan and Pant cemeteries. Fortunately, we haven't witnessed any of these incidents in Aberfan. And also, previously there was a public consultation which took place, and the result of that consultation was to keep the gates at Aberfan open. We've also engaged with the chairman of and the trustees of the Aberfan Memorial Committee, who have also expressed a wish to keep the gates open. So with that in mind, Mr. Mayor, we've obviously taken the pragmatic view that that's the wish because of the prior consultation and the wishes of the Memorial Committee to keep them open. Obviously, one size doesn't fit all. What's good for Aberfan might not work for Pant and Cavan, and we got to respect that. So this is why we asked for this to be split on a cemetery by cemetery basis. And obviously, the Triaris ward councillors have requested a further consultation to take place, so we've got to respect that wish as well. So yeah, I've got no issues at all with locking Pant and Cavan cemetery gates, because obviously there have been incidents there, and I think incidents of fly tipping and vandalism in such a sacred place as a cemetery is absolutely disgusting and deplorable. So if it works for the members, in these and the residents in these wards, then I certainly back that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Thomas.
Sorry, Councillor Lisa Mitten, I think, showed next, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, sorry, Leader.
That's absolutely fine, Mr. Mayor, no problem at all. No, just to welcome this report on behalf of myself and yourself, Mr. Mayor, being the ward councillors for Kevin, just in relation to Kevin Cemetery. And Darren's quite right, you know, and he's made out some really key points for there regarding his area. But for our ward, you know, we've been really saddened, unbelievably, really, that people would do this in such a, you know, area of respect and or lack of in their case, you know, but somewhere where people should go and be able to remember their loved ones in peace and tranquility. And the fly tipping has been incredible. But more hurtful than that has been the vandalism. And last year, people will know that we even had a joyrider who heartbreakingly has given me goose pimples saying it now, drove their car over a friend of ours' grave, Mr. Mayor, very close family in the community, and it was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking for that family. I just want to give thanks to Heart Funeral Services and Carwyn Isles and that for supporting our officers, Rob Barnett and the team, in dealing with that in such a very dignified manner after the event. And so I can't welcome this report enough. I think it will hopefully help us. I don't think these problems are going to go away, sadly, but I'm sure it will lessen the problems we have where people are driving in darkness and fly tipping, etc., and vandalising. So thank you very much.
Yeah, I'd like to echo what the councillors and the leader have just said. I'd like to ask Councillor Thomas now to speak.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I welcome this report too. Most of us have got family members resting in peace at either Kevin or Pant, and even Vayner as well, some of us. And I just feel, you know, what's gone on over the last year or so with the vandalism and the fly tipping is a disgrace. And if we ever catch these people, I hope we really take them to court and fine them as much as we can. Yeah, so I welcome the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councillor, sorry, Member.
Councillor Julian Amos.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to say, I welcome this report that's been presented on by my ward colleague, Councillor Hughes. As you all know, it's something that I've been raising since the very first year of this present council session. So I really do welcome this report. There has been so much damage. I've been, my father and mother's graves up there, and on a visit once I was approached by people who'd had graves damaged in the night. There's been fly tipping up there, and cars on motorbikes, and as the leader has alluded to, vehicles doing damage. The report refers to the petition that was presented by a former Dowras councillor, Councillor Ray Thomas, some time ago. It's wonderful now that it's being dealt with. I can't leave it go without mentioning Councillor Declan Salmon, who has done a wonderful job trying to organise volunteers to open and close the gates. Taking a very practical attempt to solve the matters, but we've now got the job being done by funded by the council itself, funded out of the rates that these people pay. And as I say, I'm very, very pleased to see this report put before council tonight.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Declan Salmon.
Councillor Salmon.
Thank you, Monitor and Officer. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I think I also speak on behalf of Councillor David Hughes when I say that we would firstly like to thank our colleagues within the independent group, because without their support, this report would not be in front of us tonight. Thank you to all the officers involved for not only putting this report together, but also for their support in working through all the possible options available. I would like to mention Councillor Julian Amos,
who has also been asking for the vehicle access gates to be locked at night, and thank him for his support on this issue. I hope all members present tonight will do the right thing and vote that the recommendation be approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Chris Davis, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, this is a very emotive report, but I would like to thank, Councillor Hughes, the Chief Officer for Neighbourhood Services and her team who brought this report forward. You've done a huge amount of work responding to what the community have told us needs to happen. There's been actually quite an outcry on social media from the residents, a number of who have loved ones at both Pant and Kevin Cemetery who've suffered the damage and the chaos, the fly tipping that's been caused at these cemeteries. And we owe it, as the democratically elected members of this county borough, to do the right thing and actually make these places of peace where a lot of our loved ones are laid to rest safe and, protect them from harm and damage. So I absolutely support this report, Mr. Mayor, and I hope that we can, do the right thing for the residents of the county borough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Are there any more comments?
Councillor Tanya Skinner, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Skinner.
Hello. Yeah, it was just to say, just to congratulate Councillor Amos on this item, because it's something I understand that was in his original manifesto, and it's something, as he pointed out, he's been raising since 2017. Many of the issues discussed tonight, such as vandalism and cars running through and fly tipping, were very much present in 2017. And Councillor Amos has been quite dogged and determined to get this through. So I just wanted to congratulate Councillor Amos and give him credit where credit's due, really. And that's all. And I also welcome the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Skinner. Are there any more comments?
No, Mr. Mayor, I can't see anybody else.
If not, we'll put it to the vote then. Thank you.
Can I just ask Councillor Skinner, can you put your hand down first before we start? So can I ask all those wishing to abstain, can you please show now? Thank you. All those wishing to vote against the recommendation, please vote now. Thank you. And all those voting in favour, please vote now. Just Councillor Rogers, can you please vote?
I got, there's a problem here, I don't know. Is it on now? I don't know. No? Is it on?
No.
It's not. Hang on a minute. Yeah? No?
What we can do is record that you voted in favour, so that your vote will still be counted, if that's okay. All right. And then that will conclude your voting, Mr. Mayor, and that's unanimous.
Thank you, members. That's unanimous. Can we have hands down, please? We'll go on now to item 6. Appointment and amendments to structural CAMIT, which is an information report. So then we'll go on to item 7 to deal with any other urgent business or correspondence. I have none. We'll go on to item 8 to receive any communications received by His Worship the Mayor. There are no communications. And I'd like to thank you. That was the last item on the agenda, and the meeting is now closed.